What happens when you combine 1/3 Evangelion, 1/3 Charlotte, and 1/3 Gears of War? そばに来て崩れゆく抑制僕を怖がらないで What is up, YouTube? It's RSMario here, bringing you another anime review, and this time we go over the show that saved the anime, Darling in the Franxx. So, Darling in the Franxx is a story, follows technically two main characters, one by the name of Hiro, a human parasite, which is basically a person who drives these mechs, these waifu bots called Franxx, and they basically battle these creatures by the name of Klaxosaurs that want to destroy these giant human colonies. The other main character is not exactly human. She is 02. She is an incredibly powerful parasite who can kind of sort of pilot a Franxx on her own, which is actually a really interesting thing because the Franxx, these robots, these mechs require two pilots. They require a male and a female to actually pilot these mechs, which that comes into play a lot later in the story, and it's probably spoilery, so I won't go into any more detail. But the basic thing is they're fighting the Klaxosaurus to defend humanity. That's the big story. The story is drawn out more because of the characters, the incredible world building, and other stuff right before it swerves and hits a tree. But let's get on into it. So, of course, I already went over the synopsis of the story, and the story is really where Darling in the Franxx starts to slip. Because the story itself is somewhat thin, you know, defend humans against the Klaxosaurs. Of course, as you dig in through this 20-some-odd episode series, you'll get more and more story, and it'll get more and more interesting. It's just that the ending is like, well, the ending itself, it actually works. I guess it's the push towards the end that takes all this development you've done in the story, minus the character development, and kind of throws it out the window. Like the world building, all the lore we've had, it kind of gets thrown out the window in the last 3 to 4 episodes for a plot that just seems, a plot twist that seems like even the master of twists himself, Shyamalan, probably wouldn't have pulled this twist that quickly. It feels like this really should have been set up with like maybe 3 or 4 more episodes. I mean, like, hell, make a season 2. Like, if they would have had, like, if they would have really, like, this feels like an SAO moment where if they would have just ended the story, like if SAO would have ended at episode 14 and then built up the rest of that stuff for a season 2, a 20 episode season on its own that was more built, that would have been great. The same thing goes for the end of the story, or at least the last that last arc of this show. If they just cut this show at the last major battle of the Klaxosaurs and maybe kind of tweaked it a bit to be a proper ending for the show, and then say they have the season 2 where they could do the rest of this stuff, that would have been great. But compacting it all into one season just seems crazy, even for Trigger. But yeah, the story is okay. So the characters are one of the real big parts of the story. The character development by far is one of the best parts of this show, and it's some of the best character development I've seen in a long time. Like, you're going to care for almost all these characters. Like, they will actually make you care about these characters. You know, if they die, if something happens to them, if one of them randomly ends up with bulimia, you know, you care about these characters. And the way they've developed it is actually pretty interesting. Not just 02 and Hiro, but all of the parasites. You are going to, like, there's a best girl, there's a best boy, you know what I'm saying? But you're gonna have your picks here. You're gonna care about characters. You're gonna have characters that you don't like. For some reason, everybody hates Ichigo. I don't know why. But yeah, so, you know, the character development in this show is probably some of the best I've seen with a cast this large. And it's arguably hard to call them side characters because they get as much screen time and almost as much importance as the main characters, at least up until the end of the show. Now, one thing that really shines for me with Darling in the Franxx, other than the character development, is the execution. The art and the soundtrack for the show, I love. Like, the directing of the show as far as how scenes work and cinematography, I like. You know, this show, as far as the art design, is really good. Of course, I would expect nothing less from Studio Trigger and A1 Pictures. The waifu bots, or the Franxx, are actually pretty cool, even though it's weird that, you know, this particular, like, Team 13 are the only ones that have waifu bots. Everybody else has kind of like a one type of Franxx. It would have been interesting if the other teams, you know, which they don't get flushed out nearly as much as our main cast of Parasites, but it would be interesting if they had their own, like, types of Franxx. That would have been pretty cool. Because Team 13 are flanked out, like, you've got, like, your Berserker, you've got, like, your Heavy Gun, you've got, like, your Lance user, you've got, like, a laser user, and then you've got Starlitzia that just wrecks everything, you know. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of interesting that they have this team of fleshed out Franxx where everyone else has one Franxx fits all type of thing, which is interesting. But, yeah, the art design is really good. And the actual, like, composition of, like, balls to the wall action to, like, dramatic, like, heart-wrenching scenes, it's not done improperly. Like, some shows, like, something like Kill la Kill. Not Kill la Kill, no. Akame ga Kill is one of these shows that can have, like, this uber, like, funny moment and then go straight to, like, a violent, dramatic death that's supposed to tug at your heartstrings, but I was just laughing a minute ago. Or vice versa. They'll have, like, somebody get murked and then someone cry over their body, and then they would have, like, a one-liner gag. And it's kind of like, okay, that's tonal dissonance. That's just, yeah. We don't get a lot of that with this show. Yes, they do kind of flip tones, but there's a space in between. Probably one of the biggest shining points for me is the soundtrack. The soundtrack for this show. There's very few shows where I've just sat down, because you know there's always these videos on YouTube that have, like, the whole soundtrack and, like, an hour plus video or whatever. There are very few shows where I could just sit down and just put that soundtrack on and just work. Like, I might be able to play a couple tracks from a show. No, this show, I literally found the video of, like, oh, this is all the soundtrack, and I just put that on to just, like, edit videos and write stuff. Like, I mean, the soundtrack is amazing. Everything from, like, Vanquish to the solemn odds and ends. It gives you, like, these solemn slow moments to the hype of Counterattack. Which, you know, comes in to play with the more of the Franxx battles, and then Reversal, which is like something straight out of a freaking space opera. Which the show kind of turns into after a while. So, yeah, like, the soundtrack with this show, simply amazing. So, in conclusion, just weighing everything about the show, the story, the characters, the art, the sound, and the overall execution of the show, I have to give Darling in the Franxx a C. But it's a different type of C. It's the type of C where, you know, because I give a lot of shows a C. It's like, okay, it's a passable show. This is a C that I want you to watch once. Because this is the type of show where you have to come to your own conclusion. This show, it's a passable show, but I think it's something that most anime fans should at least try to watch once. So that's about it for this. I hope you like this review. I'm still working on a review style because this one was more structured, a little bit more written than my last two reviews. Tell me which review style you like. And there will be more anime videos coming up soon. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, folks, keep it real.